Amazing twist. Luxury car manager exposed for racism. Revealed who walked in next will inspire you. Sam adjusted his tie as he stepped into the dealership, the aroma of polished leather and expensive gas filling his senses. The day had begun just like any other in the bustling Midwestern city, yet the air was charged with an undercurrent of anxiety. Just moments before, he had overheard Mark, the dealership's arrogant manager, throw yet another insult his way, veiled racism dripping with condescension. "You think you can sell luxury cars? Stick to the basics, Sam." Those words stung, and as Sam swallowed hard, the taste of bitterness lingered. He had poured everything into this place, striving day after day to earn respect. But now it felt as if a shadow hung over him, one that no amount of effort could shake off. In his crisp, button-up shirt and polished shoes, he portrayed professionalism, but inside a tempest roiled. Mia's face flashed in his mind, the way her eyes sparkled when he returned home, the warmth of her smile that melted his weariness. He couldn't let Mark's disdain tarnish his aspirations, not just for himself, but for the family legacy he wanted to build for Mia. With every car sold, he dreamed of a better future, and those dreams gnawed at him with relentless hunger. Now every interaction felt like a performance under scrutiny, with Mark watching for any misstep, eager to belittle him even further. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the hours dragged on, Sam felt the weight of doubt creeping in, gnawing at his resolve. What if he never achieved his goals? What if all the sacrifices he made for Mia would amount to nothing? He could hear Mark's taunts echoing in his mind. The thought of confronting him was daunting. Would it even matter? The dealership was a place of dreams for some, but for Sam, it was suffocating. Suddenly the door swung open, and in walked Mrs. Johnson, powerful, poised, a beacon of strength. Her presence ignited something inside him. She was a community leader, known for her fierce advocacy. Sam felt an inexplicable pull, a fusion of hopes and fears swirling. How could someone like him, so beaten down by Mark, dare to approach her? But as she strolled toward the luxury vehicles, he caught the glint of possibility in her gaze. What if she could see through the dealership's facade? What if she could amplify his voice? Yet the pressing fear of Mark's inevitable retaliation stifled him. Just as Sam considered stepping forward, the atmosphere shifted. Unsure, he felt the rhythm of his heartbeat racing against the oppressive silence that had also filled the room. A storm was brewing, not just for him, but for everyone at the dealership. Could he find his own strength? Would he rise to the challenge, or would this moment slip through his fingers, leaving not just his aspirations, but Mia's future hanging in the balance? The whispers of doubt invaded his mind, leaving a nerve-wracking climax that was begging for resolution. With a surge of courage, he took a breath, preparing to confront Mark and stand for justice, whatever the outcome. Sam stood at the edge of the showroom floor, fully aware of the pivotal moment unfolding before him. The polished marble gleamed under the bright lights, casting stark reflections of his wavering resolve. Mrs. Johnson moved gracefully through the luxury cars, her eyes scanning each vehicle with appreciation. He wanted to draw strength from her presence, but the weight of Mark's condescension pressed heavily on his chest. He glanced over at Mark, who was leaning casually against his office door, his expression a mix of amusement and disdain. The oppressive aura radiating from his manager felt like chains gripping Sam's limbs. Could he break free? His heart raced, vying for dominance against the rising tide of fear choking his ambition. With Mia's future as his beacon, doubt began to morph into a solid foundation of determination. Taking a breath, he smoothed his shirt and squared his shoulders. The moment he stepped away from his post, he could feel eyes on him, everyone seemingly aware of this silent battle. Each step toward Mrs. Johnson felt monumental, a physical manifestation of his internal struggle. He thought of the sacrifices he had made, the late nights studying sales techniques, the mock classes he joined to refine his pitch, hoping to cultivate respect in an environment that seemed so eager to deny it. "Hi there, Mrs. Johnson," he finally mustered, his voice steady despite the tumult swirling inside him. Her head turned, and he felt the air quiver with possibility. "Sam, right?" she replied, her voice welcoming yet authoritative. "I remember you from the community meeting last month. You spoke passionately about your vision for the dealership." Encouraged by her recognition, he straightened. "Thank you. I wanted to talk to you about opportunities here. I believe we can do more than sell cars. We can create a genuine connection with our customers, especially in a diverse community like ours." Sam felt the conviction bubbling to the surface. Her eyes narrowed thoughtfully. "You're right. This industry often forgets the power of real relationships. What do you propose?" As the words flowed out, he started to see a path drawing itself before him, a new direction for not just his career, but the very culture of the dealership. He spoke of outreach programs, customer appreciation events, and mentorship initiatives. The confidence in his voice seemed to breathe life into the stagnant air around them, as if he were illuminating a space long cloaked in shadow. But amid the excitement, doubt still lingered. What would Mark think? Would he try to sabotage these ideas or belittle Sam further? "Those are robust ideas, Sam, but I sense fear in your voice," Mrs. Johnson remarked, cutting through his thoughts. "What holds you back from championing these initiatives?" He hesitated, feeling the sharp pang of truth. "I'm afraid of pushing back against Mark. He's been here forever, and he wields a lot of power." It was freeing to admit it aloud. "Fear can be a good teacher," she said decisively. "Learn to use it as fuel, not an anchor. The question is, how much do you want this? How far are you willing to go?" Her words ignited something deep within him, an ember of resolve. Was he truly willing to confront Mark, to stand up not just for himself, but for the legacy he intended for Mia? As a fire burned in his chest, he realized the moment wasn't about escaping the shadows, but standing tall within them. With a firm nod, he declared, "I'm ready to fight for the dealership I believe in, and the future I want for my daughter." But the real battle loomed ahead, one where he would have to face Mark directly. The tension underpinning the dealership promised many obstacles, and a fierce confrontation seemed imminent. Sam's pulse quickened at the thought, and he swallowed hard. What awaited him was uncertain, but the need to unify strength and resilience awaited his action. The time had come to face not just Mark, but the very limitations he had accepted far too long. The air crackled with anticipation, both awakening his courage and foreshadowing the struggle ahead. Could Sam harness this motivation into a confrontation that would change the trajectory of his career forever? The moment of truth had arrived, and with it, the urgency of his next move. Sam's feet barely touched the ground as he stepped away from Mrs. Johnson, his heart beating in sync with the rhythm of his determination. Every voice in the showroom faded into a dull murmur, but the shadows of doubt still loomed large. He could feel the eyes of his colleagues on him, mixed with whispers of intrigue and skepticism, yet he squared his shoulders, wanting to project an air of unassailable confidence. "I have to take control," he thought, the weight of responsibility settling firmly upon him. For too long, he'd allowed Mark's arrogance to dictate the terms of his existence at the dealership. Now, the stakes had escalated to a personal level. Mia's future was intertwined with his ambitions. He could no longer afford to be passive. As he walked past the cluster of cars, an idea sharpened into focus. Perhaps the first step was to gather a few allies. He made a beeline for the break room, where he knew he might find Brian, a fellow salesman who had always shown an interest in making the dealership a better place. "Hey, Sam!" Brian's face lit up when he saw him. "What's going on? You look like you're about to storm into battle." "Maybe I am," Sam replied, his tone fighting to keep the levity even as adrenaline coursed through him. "I need to talk to you." They settled at a small table, surrounded by scattered coffee cups and the calming hum of the fridge. Sam didn't waste time dancing around the topic. "I pitched some ideas to Mrs. Johnson about transforming our approach to customers. I think we can make this dealership thrive if we foster real relationships rather than just focusing on sales." Brian leaned forward, a spark of interest igniting in his gaze. "That sounds amazing, mate, but you do realize Mark might not be all in for this, right? He has his own agenda." "Exactly. That's why I'm thinking of forming a small team, people who believe in this vision. We could present a united front to Mrs. Johnson, maybe even challenge Mark's authority over these ideas." The conviction in his voice surprised him. It felt tangible, like a weapon wielded against fear. "Count me in," Brian replied, enthusiasm bubbling in his tone. "I've seen customers come and go, and most leave feeling nothing. If we can change that—" "Then it's decided," Sam said, and they exchanged a quick, conspiratorial smile. "I'll draft an outline of the initiatives and pull others in on this. We can gather support and march in there with real evidence of why these ideas will work." As they left the break room, a familiar dread crept back in. Just as he was beginning to feel emboldened, Mark's melody of sarcasm echoed back into his mind. This would be a lot easier if Mark weren't hovering over us like a vulture, Sam thought, tension knotting in his stomach. In that moment, unwavering resolve met internal chaos. What if he retaliates? What if it backfires? But somewhere within, a voice whispered louder. "What if it works? What if this is the moment you've been waiting for?" With each step toward his office, Sam began crafting his strategy in real time, drawing up ideas, rallying support. He could not back down. He was prepared to face Mark, and perhaps the prospect excited him more than terrified him now. His phone buzzed, a message from Mia lighting up the screen. "Dad, when are you coming home? I miss you." The sweetness of her words added clarity to his confusion. For her, he thought, bolstered in purpose. This wasn't just about the dealership. This was about creating a life that would make Mia proud. The confrontation with Mark was no longer something to dread. It was a necessary step toward forging the future he desired. But the answer to how Mark would respond still loomed heavy, hinting at the fierce dichotomies that lay ahead. Would he lead with newfound confidence, or would he falter under the weight of the old powers in play? The time had come to confront everything he feared. As he reached his desk, the tension of anticipation propelled him forward. The air crackled with a new potential, a blend of strength and risk that promised change. The question hung in the air. Would he be prepared for the storm that would inevitably follow? Sam tightened his grip on his resolve and, with a deep breath, readied himself for battle. As Sam settled into his office, the clutter of paperwork seemed to morph into a battlefield, each document a potential weapon in his growing arsenal. He could feel the weight of his aspirations pressing down on him. But amid the anxiety, a flicker of inspiration ignited within him. He opened his laptop, fingers poised over the keyboard, ready to outline his vision. But first, he needed clarity. Sam resolved to write down not just ideas, but his motivations. Why was this change essential? He began drafting a mission statement, one that articulated the core values of empathy and integrity. As he typed, the words flowed with increasing conviction. Not only do I aim for sales, I strive to create connections that matter. Each keystroke propelled him deeper into his thoughts. This wasn't merely about changing sales tactics, it was a quest for authenticity. Past experiences flashed through his mind. Customers who had walked away feeling dismissed or, worse yet, manipulated. He refused to allow anyone else to experience that. The dealership could become a sanctuary for honesty, a place where people felt valued beyond their wallets. After a focused hour, he stepped back from the screen, a sense of pride swelling in his chest. This document wasn't just a strategy, it was a reflection of who he aspired to be. With renewed zeal, he saved the outline and opened a new document to list potential allies. Brian was a natural collaborator, but he needed more support. He could reach out to Lisa, who often demonstrated a flair for creative marketing, and Roger, who had built a loyal clientele based on trust. Each name on the list reminded him of the good in their shared mission. At that moment, the hesitation caused by Mark's looming presence began to dissolve. But the thought of Mark snapped Sam back to reality. In his mind's eye, he could picture Mark's dismissive smirk, the way he maneuvered through the dealership with an air of superiority. Sam's heart raced. It was inevitable that Mark would challenge this initiative. This was a battle of ideals, and Sam knew he couldn't back down. He called Brian to refine their approach further. After a brief but enthusiastic discussion, they agreed to meet after hours to strategize their pitch for Mrs. Johnson. With each detail they filled in, clarity washed over Sam. The foundation was being laid, but a sense of darkness lingered, embodied in Mark's impending approach. Later that evening, as he sat waiting for Brian in the empty dealership, Sam's mind raced with scenarios. What if Mark didn't just fight back, but also attempted to sabotage their efforts? Would he stoop to petty tactics to undermine Sam's credibility? Anxiety clawed at him. The uncertainty gnawed at his gut like a persistent itch, making it difficult to focus. Determined to anchor himself, Sam pulled out his phone, scrolling through Mia's previous messages. The last image she had sent, a drawing of a car with the words, "Dad's Dream," scribbled beneath, sent a surge of reassurance through him. In that moment, her belief in him reinforced his resolve. He wasn't just fighting for himself, but for her future, one filled with opportunity and purpose. Brian arrived, greeted by Sam's infectious energy, which contrasted sharply with the tension that had been weighing him down. They proceeded to dive deep into discussion, charting out their thoughts as ideas bounced back and forth, each one bolstering the other's enthusiasm. As they wrapped up their strategy, a sudden noise broke through the camaraderie, a familiar voice echoing from the parking lot. Mark was walking toward the dealership, his gaze darting around like a hawk searching for prey. Sam's heart raced. The air thickened with tension, and an unsettling chill crept into his bones. This was it, the confrontation they had both been preparing for. Would he emerge from this face-off triumphant, or would the old fears resurface, trumping his newfound confidence? The moment Sam had been dreading had arrived, but it was also the moment he had been preparing for. He took a deep breath as they collected their notes, face set with mortality, prepared not just to defend his visions, but to challenge Mark directly. The confrontation was inevitable, and in the chaos that followed, he would uncover truths about himself that he had yet to confront. Would he stand his ground, or would he falter under pressure? Sam stood near the receptionist's desk, barely hiding his apprehension behind a veneer of confidence. The sound of Mark's footsteps echoed through the dealership, the confidence in his gait imbued with arrogance. Every word that passed Mark's lips historically dripped with condescension, and things would certainly get hostile. Sam had rehearsed this moment in his mind over and over, yet he couldn't shake the feeling of inadequacy that accompanied his anxieties. As Mark approached, Sam felt an unfamiliar surge of determination break through the fog. He wouldn't allow Mark's presence to intimidate him any longer. He had spent too many years emulating the establishment instead of reshaping it to fit his ideals. He reminded himself of his mission statement, his commitment to integrity and authentic relationships. This was about more than just protecting his ideas. It was about proving to himself that he had the power to redefine both his role and the environment around him. "Sam," Mark greeted, taking up space like he owned the whole dealership. "Planning a new sales strategy without talking to your manager first? Bold move." "Actually, Mark, I believe sales strategies should come from those on the ground, engaging with customers," Sam responded, surprising himself with his unwavering tone. "I'm working on a plan to foster genuine connections." Mark smirked, his eyes narrowing. "Connections don't sell cars, Sam. You think your buzzwords will win customers over? At the end of the day, it's numbers that matter." The tension simmered as Sam's heart raced, but an unfamiliar boldness surged within him. And what good are numbers when they disguise a betrayal of trust? It's our job to build relationships that create loyalty, not just quick sales. Sam steeled himself, a wave of adrenaline coursing through him. Mark's expression contorted, teetering between anger and the gradual realization that Sam was standing up for himself. "You really think you have what it takes to change this place?" "I do," Sam replied, his voice steady. "But it will take all of us. I'm willing to collaborate, but we need to start talking with our customers, not just at them." Could he really be serious? A part of him questioned whether he was ready to face this reflection of his insecurities. "You're naive," Mark spat, crossing his arms and leaning in. For a moment, Sam felt the years of doubt rush back, as though Mark's expectations threatened to envelop him. But he caught a glimpse of Mia's drawing in his mind, a vivid reminder of what drove his ambition. Yet as the internal dialogue waged on, he realized this wasn't just about Mark and their conflict. This was about reclaiming agency in his own life, stepping into a role that empowered not just him, but those around him. Will they resist change? He mentally bantered back, their internalized beliefs overshadowing his vision. "If you think I'm overconfident, then maybe it's time for a fresh perspective in this dealership." The words left his mouth with a sense of surprise. It was as if he was discovering an inner strength for the first time. Mark raised an eyebrow, the self-assuredness in his posture faltering just slightly. But recognition of this newfound strength began to dawn on Sam. The air crackled with unspoken challenges and tension. This confrontation became more than a mere clash of personalities. It was a test of values. Mark seemed to reconsider his own position, as if the exchange had shifted their roles in an unexpected way. But just as Sam prepared to deepen his argument, the door swung open with a loud creak. Lisa and Roger strolled in, their laughter immediately filling the air, oblivious to the tension simmering in the room. "Hey guys, we thought we'd find you here," Lisa chirped. Sam's heart sank momentarily, torn between excitement at their arrival and the looming conflict that had yet to resolve. Mark glanced at them, his demeanor shifting from adversarial to calculating, and Sam sensed the opportunity slipping. Would these allies provide the backup he needed, or would Mark seize the moment to undermine their collective purpose? With the stakes escalating and loyalties tested, the future of Sam's vision hung precariously in the balance. Would Sam be able to rally his allies and push forward with a renewed sense of confidence, or would the moment slip away, leaving him in a familiar constellation of chaos? The showdown had begun, but the real fight for transformation was just starting. As Lisa and Roger bounded into the dealership, Sam felt a flicker of hope mixed with unease. Their laughter contrasted sharply with the charged atmosphere, but he knew he had to reframe the moment. "About time you two showed up," he said, injecting levity into the exchange. He needed their support to sustain the momentum he had just claimed. "What's the scoop?" Roger asked, glancing between Sam and Mark, sensing the unspoken tension hanging in the air. "Just a little disagreement on how we sell cars," Mark replied, an edge in his voice that gave Sam pause. "Look, Mark," Lisa cut in, her light-heartedness fading, "we all want the same goal here. Why not share Sam's ideas? Engagement with customers could distinctly shift our approach." Sam's chest tightened. She was standing up against Mark's arrogance, just as he had. Gratitude coursed through him, replacing some of his apprehension with a newfound resolve. "Exactly," Sam added. "It's about evolving, moving beyond transactions into building lasting partnerships." As he spoke, he could sense the shift in the energy around them. They were becoming an unintentional barrier against Mark's condescension. Mark's posture straightened, but the glint of opposition in his eyes remained. "You really think just chit-chatting will close deals? The values you're pushing are impractical, idealistic." "Ironically, the world's moved on to more than just numbers," Roger spoke up, surprising Sam with his unexpected solidarity. "If we build loyalty, repeat customers will be the real numbers." "It's like you guys think this is a team effort," Mark retorted, his bravado cracking slightly under the weight of a collective opposition. A moment of uncertainty flickered across his features, leaving Sam invigorated. Yet beneath the surface, Sam felt the deep undercurrents of his doubts threatening to resurface. Who was he to challenge Mark directly? Did he have the experience to uphold this stance when the stakes were so high? "Sometimes in business you have to take chances," Lisa interjected, reinforcing Sam's argument. "Sam's right. We can't ignore the emotional connection. We want people to feel something when they walk onto the lot." Sam's heart raced. Maybe he wasn't alone after all. As Mark shifted his gaze away, momentarily distracted by Roger's enthusiasm, Sam seized the moment for himself. "Mark, how many times have we lost a sale because a customer felt dismissed or unmatched? This isn't just about selling, it's about renewing hope in a dealership they can trust." Fire ignited in him. The more he articulated his thoughts, the more clarity emerged. What if this was just the push his ideas needed? What if this was both his opportunity to enact change and his quest for personal growth? "Sounds inspirational, boy. But this is still business," Mark snapped, a scowl growing across his face. "Then let's redefine business together," Sam shot back, emboldened. "I'm ready to put in the effort, but it takes more than one person's thoughts to inspire transformation." The room felt a buzz. His team stood behind him, yet Mark's looming presence still encased their collective energy in uncertainty. Sam's resolve kept him grounded, and this was the moment to break the debilitating cycle of fear that had tethered him for too long. Then Mark's expression shifted slightly, a flicker of something darker crossing his features. Could it be fear of losing control, or was it pure disdain for the idea of collaborative growth? This sudden recognition propelled Sam's internal stakes higher. But before he could delve deeper into Mark's reaction or the implications of their exchange, a ringing phone broke the tension, pulling their focus. It was the dealership line, a call for Sam. "Looks like they need you," Mark said, a hint of smug satisfaction creeping into his tone. "Why don't you go prove your theory in practice instead of sparring with me?" The challenge hung in the air. Their verbal duel transformed into a personal test. Sam took a breath, wrestling with the instinct to retreat into self-doubt. This call could define his day, his journey, perhaps even his future. As he stepped away toward the phone, he could feel Mark's eyes following him, assessing, calculating. Would this call reaffirm his newfound strength or plunge him back into the depths of self-doubt? This was it. The defining moment of truth awaited him on the other end of the line. Would he rise to meet it, or retreat once again into the shadows? The phone rang insistently against the backdrop of a charged silence, the sound echoing in Sam's ears as he approached the desk. It felt like a compass directing him to a crucial juncture where ambition met action. He grasped the receiver, inhaling deeply to dispel his anxiety, and introduced himself. "Hi, this is Sam. How can I help you today?" The voice on the other end was crisp and assertive, the kind that demanded attention. "I'm inquiring about the hybrid models. I've heard mixed reviews. Can you tell me the benefits and whether they're worth the price?" His mind raced with thoughts of tackling the question directly, but beneath the surface, a familiar wave of insecurity rolled over him. How was he to impress a potential client after just sparring with Mark? Yet, he felt Lisa's words reverberating in his mind. He knew now that engaging customers was paramount, and he could not allow self-doubt to seize him. "Absolutely, I'd love to help with that," he replied, his voice steadying. "Our hybrids are designed for both efficiency and performance. They not only save on fuel, but also provide a smoother driving experience. And let's not forget the growing shift towards sustainable vehicles, which makes them a solid long-term investment." The client's response was measured, and Sam could almost picture their intrigued expression. "Curious, but how does it drive compared to your conventional models?" Time stretched, and Sam understood this moment represented more than just a sale. It was about illustrating a new direction for the dealership, a testament to the values he had just articulated to Mark. "I can assure you, the hybrid offers exceptional handling. The instant torque from the electric motor gives you a spirited drive, and frankly, it feels more refined. If you'd like, I can arrange a test drive for you. Experiencing it firsthand would illustrate the benefits far better than any brochure." There was a pause on the line, but Sam didn't flinch. Instead, he filled the silence confidently. "What are you looking for in a vehicle? Is it performance, efficiency, or something else?" The client engaged further, revealing their preferences, and Sam took mental notes, weaving those insights into his next responses. The fear that had plagued him moments earlier dissolved in the satisfaction of digging deeper into the conversation. His passion for customer connection began to thrive as they discussed specifics and shared personal anecdotes. As the call drew to a close, the client expressed gratitude and agreed to come in for a test drive. Sam hung up, an elated grin spreading across his face. He had done it. He talked to someone as a person, rather than a mere face in a business transaction. It wasn't just about appearing knowledgeable, it was about being relatable and building a bridge of trust. In that instant, Sam realized this call was more than a potential sale. It was an affirmation of his journey towards authenticity and professional growth. He could see a clearer path before him, one that involved bringing others along in a more genuine partnership in their pursuit of success. "Nice job," Lisa said as she watched Sam hang up, her tone filled with respect. "You handled that like a pro." Her words were a balm to his emerging confidence, yet lingering self-doubt whispered that today's victory might not hold for long. Just as he started to feel secure, the door swung open, and in walked a figure he hadn't seen since the beginning of his career at the dealership, a celebrated client known for a shocking revelation about the industry's darker underbelly. "Sam!" the client exclaimed with an exuberance that caught everyone's attention. Suddenly, the room felt charged with possibilities. What would this extraordinary encounter unveil for Sam? With a mixture of excitement and apprehension, Sam braced himself for what might come next. Would it deepen his resolve or unearth fears he had yet to face? This could either be the next step in his transformation or a test of everything he had just begun to embrace. The figure moved further into the showroom, exuding an air of confidence that was unmistakable, as well as a touch of danger. Sam recognized him immediately. This client was not just celebrated, he was also notorious for his blunt honesty and brutal critiques of the industry. The reputation preceded him, and Sam instinctively recalled the stories he'd heard, harsh truths uttered during public forums that had caused ripples throughout the dealership landscape. "Tom, "It's great to see you," Sam managed, albeit with a hint of uncertainty. "What brings you back to our little corner of the automotive world?" Tom's eyes flickered with an intensity that made Sam feel as if he was under a microscope. "I came to discuss some of the new models and, well, I want to talk about transparency in the industry. I hope you're ready for some real conversation." The weight of those words registered in Sam's mind. This could easily become a pivotal moment for him, a test not just of what he knew about cars, but a challenge to reflect on values in a world where appearances often overshadowed the truth. He thought of Mark's dismissive attitude towards customer concerns. Would he stand firm in his dedication to genuine dialogue or falter? "Absolutely," Sam replied, summoning all the resolve he could muster. "Let's dive right in. I believe that communicating openly with customers is essential for rebuilding trust in the industry." Tom studied him, eyebrows slightly raised. "You know, I've watched you transform over the past year. When you first started, you were still carrying the weight of inexperience. But from what I've heard, you might be onto something deeper than just selling cars. Are you prepared for what I might say next?" Sam's heart raced. He had envisioned various scenarios leading up to this meeting, but now that he was here, the possibility of facing uncomfortable truths loomed large. "I'm ready to hear anything. It's imperative that we confront the dark corners, no matter how uncomfortable that might be." "Good," Tom responded, his smile a mix of admiration and scrutiny. "Let's start with your sales techniques. I've seen some salespeople rely on outdated tactics, using facade over authenticity. Do you think that's healthy for your business?" The confrontation dug straight into Sam's core beliefs. He knew that many in the industry perpetuated outdated models of engagement, over-promising while under-delivering. "No, it's not. I think honesty and understanding customer needs will strengthen our bonds. The hybrid models you're inquiring about aren't just cars. They're part of a movement toward change." Tom leaned back, folding his arms. "Interesting. If you truly believe that, then let's discuss a harder truth. If a client came in expecting something flashy, would you still push that narrative of sustainability and efficiency? Or would you cater to their desires for luxury?" The question struck Sam like a bolt. It forced him to confront his own ethical framework and aspirations. The recognition that a potential sale could challenge his newly found ethics intensified his heartbeat. "What if I told you," he started, voice firming with conviction, "that a luxury model can be sustainable? My aim is to provide every client with real value and choices that align with their values, even if they don't realize those values initially." Tom regarded him with an expression that mixed intrigue and challenge. "That's the spirit, Sam. But do you believe you could stick to that principle when the pressure mounts? When you stand to lose a significant commission?" The spotlight flickered, capturing the essence of Sam's struggle, a question not just about sales, but about self-definition. This conversation felt delicate, threading the needle of ambition and integrity. Could he emerge authentic, or fall prey to the temptations of the industry? As Tom began to lay out his vision for industry reform, Sam felt a surge of purpose igniting within him. For the first time, he understood that this wasn't merely about selling cars. It was about embracing a legacy of transformation. "I'm willing to make that commitment," Sam said, meeting Tom's gaze head-on, "but I'll need your support on this journey." The challenge now loomed larger. Would he manage to uphold his newfound principles when temptations swirled during future sales? In that moment of hopeful confrontation, the serenity of decision hung in the air, thick with possibility and uncertainty. What values would dictate his actions moving forward? As the answers unfolded, Sam knew he was on the precipice of defining not just his career trajectory, but also the deeper moral foundation of his professional identity. But as he faced Tom's penetrating gaze, he realized that the path towards authenticity would demand more than just words. It would require audacity. Would he be ready for the tests that would inevitably come? Sam felt a warm glow of determination, but it quickly spiraled into doubt as he processed Tom's penetrating questions. Each moment they spent discussing ethical transformations pulled him deeper into the crossroads of his career. The stakes felt higher than ever. This wasn't merely about his professional integrity, it was about redefining his entire approach to sales. "Sam, it's crucial to recognize that the world doesn't change overnight," Tom cautioned, breaking through Sam's reverie. "You'll encounter resistance, especially from those who profit from the old ways. You will need to revisit your strategies, adapt, and stand firm under fire." The challenge was clear: maintain a vision that was as commendable as it was daunting. Sam nodded, feeling as though he were trying to balance on a tightrope. Would he have the fortitude to uphold authenticity when dollars were on the line? He felt the scrutiny of Tom's gaze, the weight of the man's experience pressing down on him. "Can you articulate those values clearly?" Tom continued, intrigued. "If you can't communicate them, you can't expect anyone else to believe in them." The question lingered like a shadow over Sam's mind. Laney, his mentor, had always pushed him to verbalize his thoughts. "I believe every transaction should mirror our core values. No dishonesty," he replied, trying to gather his thoughts into a coherent statement. "If we introduce new models, they should embody innovation and sustainability while presenting luxury as a responsible choice." Tom's expression shifted, passing from scrutiny to interest. Broadening from mere transactions to community engagement is another step forward. But how would you transition that into sales without losing clientele who might not share those values? Each question Tom posed unveiled layers of complexity Sam had yet to explore. "I think a personal touch could do it. By creating genuine relationships with clients, we can gauge their needs and values over time. The goal would be to grow their perspectives without an overpowering agenda." Tom gave a slow nod, weighing Sam's response as if it bore weighty implications. It was a double-edged sword. How could Sam reshape the consumer's understanding without being seen as pushing an agenda? The struggle between innovation and market desire echoed in Sam's mind, but he clung to hope. Commitment to authenticity means telling a more complex story. Finding the intersections, where the market meets values, can be tricky, Tom added, but it's imperative. With a firm breath, Sam realized he had been entrusted with not just a job, but a mission. Was he willing to risk it all for principles that transcended mere car sales? Would he leap into the unknown, even if it meant his success could falter if the inevitable challenges emerged? The conversation continued as Tom peppered Sam with scenarios, each designed to push him to the brink of his beliefs. Thoughts collided and shifted at breakneck speed, and Sam felt the friction between aspiration and reality. He grasped for clarity as Tom outlined potential pitfalls of unyielding ethics, the risk of failure, the backlash when personal conviction collided with profit-driven choices. "Now let's circle back," Tom urged, his tone shifting to one of mentorship. "What is your ultimate goal in this industry, Sam? What do you want to achieve through your perspectives?" Sam felt fire ignite in his belly. "I want to create an environment where customers don't just buy cars, but feel a part of a change, a movement toward conscientious driving. I want to set an example for the industry." "Ambitious," Tom said, leaning forward. "But ambition means nothing without follow-through. Can you develop a tactical plan to support this vision?" The conviction surged within Sam, pushing him into action. "Yes, I believe I can. I will design workshops for clients to educate them not just about the vehicles, but about the broader implications of their choices. We can even partner with local communities to inspire a movement." As Sam articulated his vision, a sense of empowerment unfolded. The nerve-wracking weight of the conversation morphed into potential action, giving him newfound direction. "Then let's formulate this into a concrete proposal," Tom stated. "Your journey towards authenticity can't remain just words. We need a plan that sells the vision, earns trust, and challenges the very norms of this industry." The transformation was underway, but the path remained uncertain. Would Sam still have the clarity to discuss the changing landscape of car sales with stakeholders who might not share his beliefs? The unease of possibility turned into a burning conviction. Would the industry receive his new approach with open arms or contempt? Sam could almost feel the walls of resistance beginning to tighten around him again. Determined, he straightened his posture, ready to face the evolving challenges. The moment of confronting genuine moral dilemmas was nearing. Yet one thought echoed in the corridors of his mind. The journey was just beginning, and its outcomes hinged on his choices and the resilience forged within unexpected trials. Would he navigate them with the commitment he promised? His heart raced with anticipation, but he was resolute. This path could change everything. As they began structuring the proposal, Sam felt the ground shift. The next challenge loomed ahead, the moment he would have to pitch these ideas to his skeptical colleagues, including Mark. The stakes were higher than ever. Would it forge a new frontier or collapse under pressure? Sam stood at the threshold of the conference room, a blend of anticipation and determination surging through him. His approach felt deliberate, the culmination of months spent wrestling with fear and doubt, prepared to advocate not only for his vision, but for an environment that could promote growth and respect for everyone involved. His colleagues gathered around the long table, including Mark, whose familiar gaze bore into him with skepticism. Undeterred, Sam reminded himself of the principles he had distilled during his conversations with Tom. This was his moment to harness both courage and commitment to change the narrative. "Thanks for being here today," Sam began, drawing the attention of everyone in the room. "I want to share a vision, one that doesn't just focus on sales figures, but emphasizes building genuine relationships with our customers. I believe we can redefine how this dealership engages with our community." He felt the weight of their gazes, a mix of curiosity and uncertainty reflecting back at him. He detailed his ideas, recalling the energy he had experienced during his call with the potential client. "Our approach to customer engagement must evolve. Let's initiate workshops that educate clients about not just their purchases, but the overarching implications of those choices. By partnering with local organizations, we can establish a sense of community, turning our dealership into a beacon of trust and respect." Some colleagues nodded, intrigued. Others exchanged concerned glances with Mark. Sam felt the heat rising in his cheeks, but pressed on, the swell of confidence igniting a flame as he connected the dots. Empathy is essential. And what better way to weave it into our work than by treating each client as an individual rather than just a sale? Mark scoffed. "Sam, we're not a charity. These sound like lofty ideas that won't drive sales figures or profit." In that moment, Sam confronted the old patterns, refusing to retreat into doubt. And what good are sales if they don't cultivate loyalty? The future of this dealership lies in fostering trust. The numbers will follow if we create relationships. The conviction in his voice reverberated through the room, reinforced by a growing awareness that this moment was not merely about transactions, but a quest for authenticity that could redefine lives. An uncomfortable silence followed, but Sam was undeterred. He scanned the faces of his colleagues, reading their expressions. He had shifted the conversation from a one-sided debate into a dialogue that fostered thought. Suddenly, Lisa interjected, "I think what Sam's pushing for is essential. In today's world, buyers look for connection, not just a transaction. I've heard plenty of customers complain about feeling overlooked. By adapting our philosophy, we could stand apart from our competitors." Encouragement rippled through the room. As others joined Lisa's affirmation, Sam seized the momentum, elaborating on their plan to develop a mentorship program that would nurture budding sales talent while enhancing their existing staff's skills in emotional intelligence and customer-centric techniques. As he gracefully articulated the methods and opportunities that lay in their hands, Sam noticed Mark shifting uncomfortably in his chair. "What if our numbers drop during this transition?" Mark challenged, his voice low yet fervent. "The numbers won't drop if we commit to this approach," Sam countered, his tone resonating with hard-earned clarity. "When customers feel they're valued, they'll engage with us willingly. They'll return not only for a good vehicle, but for the trust we cultivate. This won't just help our dealership grow, but create a legacy, a culture of respect, innovation, and integrity for the future." The air thickened with anticipation, yet Sam maintained eye contact, firm in his belief. Finally, after a long pause, Tom spoke. "If you can frame this plan into actionable steps, I am willing to support this vision. But you'll need to be ready to face the doubts and challenges ahead, including Mark's influence." Mark's demeanor darkened, contradicting the spirit of teamwork emerging among the rest, but Sam felt invigorated. "I'm ready for that challenge. This isn't just an idea. It's a necessity." A flicker of recognition crossed their faces as they began to contemplate the impact of a united front. Perhaps Sam had reframed the dialogue, pushing them not just for buy-in, but for transformative action at the core of their operations. The meeting concluded, and as his colleagues filtered out, Lisa approached him, her eyes shining with gratitude. "That was impressive, Sam. You owned that room." "Thank you," he replied, still riding the high of adrenaline and clarity. But beneath that victory lay an awareness. He had crossed a bridge and found himself on a path that demanded persistence and courage every step of the way. As he stepped back into the showroom, he caught Mark's eye once more. Gone was the quaking fear. Now there was a firm resolve to carry this fight forward, for Mia, for his legacy. Each step signified not just a personal victory, but an embodiment of change he had been yearning for, a commitment to reshape his professional reality in a meaningful way. He was no longer just the underdog. He was carving his narrative within the industry. With an unyielding sense of self, Sam recognized the remnants of doubt fading behind him. His journey was only just beginning, but it promised deeper fulfillment and authentic connections he had long sought. Now it was time to launch this movement. The car showroom, once perceived as a battleground, felt different, electrified with the spirit of transformation that he had ignited within himself and his peers. You need to subscribe now to witness the evolution of personal battles transforming into victories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and let others experience this journey of growth. Comment your reactions and theories about Sam's incredible transformation. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion.